us. So Greg has you guys have anybody else that's been doing the pathways or getting started or anything?
I did my, this is Greg, I did my icebreaker last meeting.
Oh, fantastic. And how was it to do the icebreaker yet again?
And our educational VP is going to the next meeting.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Our educational VP will be doing it next meeting.
Oh, okay, great. And so, any thoughts or reactions, to that, or anybody? Have you gone in and clicked in the system of how, that you've completed it and all of that?
Well, I still have to load up the evaluation. The evaluation was done, and so I'm going to be scanning some things in probably tomorrow, and I'll probably include that in this, as part of the scans. Okay,
and then you're the one that checks that you've done the speech, if you will. So you don't need the VPE to do that.
Okay.
So, all right. So we have the three of us, if you will. Unfortunately, my video camera decided it's not going to work here tonight. Well, actually, I guess I could try. Wait a second.
Now,
yeah.
You going to the training next Tuesday?
No, I'm not going to be able to make the training next Tuesday. Are you going, David, to the training next Tuesday?
I didn't know there was a training.
Aren't you an officer this year?
New Hartford Library, 5:30.
Oh.
Yeah, they just put something out within the last few days.
Oh.
I can't remember. Are you an officer, Dave? I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm Sergeant at Arms.
Okay. Yeah, we can try to get you that information. Close. All right. And I'm putting my, I dialed in with my phone, so you can see me as another participant here. Where's my camera? Okay, there's my camera. All right. So, not that you care about seeing me. All right, so I'm going to switch us over to sharing my screen, and I'm going to share desktop 2, share screen, give it a moment, and it should switch over. Okay, and you should see web page here. So y'all see my screen with the, what you call it, Google opened here. David and Greg, you see the my screen okay?
I can.
Okay. So what I wanted to do tonight,
advanced search.
Yeah, I know it might bore Greg, but David, is there anything in particular you wanted, to see tonight? And I'd be glad to, go over some old stuff. But is there anything in particular you want to see, per se?
No, but.
Have you gotten into it at all yet, David, for Pathways?
No, I haven't done my icebreaker yet.
I see Google Advanced Search.
Great. Thanks, Greg. All right, so I'm going to go in, so you can kind of just follow along here, David. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in like I normally would for Toastmasters, right? So www.toastmasters.org, and it knows me. I've been there enough that it already knows it. So when you do that, you come to what, you've gone on the website, haven't you, David, for Toastmasters?
I have.
Okay, so this is what you would normally see. And this is the normal Toastmasters, website, in terms of education and membership and, all the other kinds of things that, that you're supposed to do. When you come here, what you want to click on is Pathways. When you click on Pathways, there'll be a pull-down menu, and you're going to probably want to take an assessment. And what this is going to do, let me just see what happens if I do it. I've already taken it, so this is just explaining what it's. Yeah, so this is just explaining what the assessment is, and the $20 I've already taken. That's why it's charging me $20 because I've already taken it. If I do it again, I have, it's like a new path or something. But anyway, you come down here to take your assessment. And when you go through the assessment, there's will be a series of questions that'll be asking you to help you choose your path. And then that will bring you into Pathways. I'm going to go into Pathways directly because I'm already in there. So when you come to this page, if you click anywhere there, this is where you're going to choose your path. So after you take your assessment, it'll help you to figure out what path to take. It's worthwhile to review, and I could certainly send you again, or if you don't have it, I can send it to you, a description of all the paths that there are, and what's involved with them in order to help you pick the right one. But the guide will help you as well. Once you do that, then to get into Pathways, you're going to log in. So, and if you want to learn more about Pathways, this Navigator is where I'll just go ahead and launch the Navigator. The Navigator is just the guidebook about Pathways. So really, it's just about how, if you were brand new to Toastmasters and didn't know anything about the old way and the new way, you would just come straight to Navigator, and Navigator is going to tell you how Toastmasters work, which for a new person, Pathways is the only way Toastmasters work, right? So this is just going to, kind of tell you all the things that you should be doing, how Toastmasters works and how Pathways works, but not trying to distinguish between old and new system. So that's, you can refamiliarize yourself that way. The key thing is going to be once you've kind of chosen your path and you've gone through your assessment, then you're going to log in. Now, if you belong to more than one club, this is where you select which club you want to log into. And because I'm a Pathways guide, I can log into either one. So I'm going to log in as a Pathways guide, and I belong, quote, to the Pathways club, if you will. And so anyone else that's in my Pathways club can see me. Anyone else cannot. And so when you come here, this is the home page, and I just use the whole screen here. So the key thing to remember now with Pathways is the logo up here says Toastmasters Pathway Experience. You are now in the Pathways portal, if you will. If I go to home, I'm stuck here. I can't get back to the normal, to the main Toastmasters International website. To do that, I have to scroll down to the bottom, and this is where it says Return to Toastmasters Pathway Start Page. That will take me back to here, which you can tell by the logo at the front, the bar, right, that I'm back, at the Toastmasters level, getting ready to enter Pathways and the base camp. So I just say that because it gets a little confusing, moving around. But the key thing is log into Toastmasters, go to Pathways. You're now at the entrance. You're still in the old, website. I mean, the main website, and then you log in to get into the Pathways website. And then once you're here, there's navigating Basecamp, which is explaining how to get around Basecamp. And Basecamp is really just the Pathways portal for you to get around it. So Basecamp is really nothing more than that. It's like, going to Amazon and it sees what you have, or going to your Cigna health insurance where all your stuff is stored. That's really all Basecamp is. It's just, your portal, if you will. And then there's your education transcript and then speech evaluations. So in education and transcript, this is where once you've picked a path, that will show up here. So I picked the leadership development path, and that's showing up here by this little stack of books. Anything else that I've downloaded also shows up here. This is just kind of like, you know, every time you buy a book, you know, it goes in the bookshelf. And so your education transcript is like, quote, everything you, when you went to the library or where you went to a book store and just got all these things. So every time you find something, you go, geez, I want to know how badges work. Once I look at that, boom, it stays in here. I want to know how requesting feedback works. Boom, once I have it, it's here. And that way you don't have to go searching for it again. But it can be a little confusing if you say, well, I want to know where do I stand with my path. That's when you have to click on your path. In my case, it's the leadership development. And that's where I can go in to see, you know, this is all the stuff you need to do for the leadership development. This is all the levels, kind of, if you will, all the gory detail, tells you kind of what you need to do. And that's if I click on the word itself. If I go over where it says open curriculum, that will tell me where I am, like right now. Doesn't give you the overall picture, but where I am right now. So you can see I'm still stuck on my icebreaker because I keep having, you know, my day job interfere with my real life of, like, you know, Toastmasters and other things. And so, you know, I have to do the project. Once I'm done with that, as Greg is about to do, he's going to go in and if I launch it, once I go in, it will take its time to do it. I just got a new router too, so you would think things would go faster. So, you know, once you launch something, you can see that sometimes it will open up a new tab on your browser. Sometimes it will open up just a whole brand new window. And if you're on a computer, it's not too bad. But if you're like on an iPad or on your phone, sometimes it's hard to find that, you know, something is hidden, you know, behind another window and all that. So just kind of keep in mind that can happen to you. So this is stepping through an exercise of assessing your skills before you, as part of doing your icebreaker. So you typically have to step through a before and after test of how you think you did. And then when you're done, and I won't go through it, when you're done, there's a place for you to say, okay, I'm done with this. And then you can move on to the next task, or project, I should say, you need to do for your level. So this is level 1, and virtually all the level 1s are the same. They all have an icebreaker, they all have evaluation and feedback, and then the research and presenting. So level 1s is kind of like all your freshman courses, right? Everyone's taking freshman English, freshman math, freshman, all that stuff. So the level 1s will be the same. It's the level 2s that will be where you have the next thing to do. Now I can kind of see what's ahead, but I can't really click on and do any of these things because it does it sequentially. So if I want to find out what these things are, I have to go elsewhere to, you know, kind of get a description of all of them. Right now I'm in my path, you know, for my curriculum of what, you know, what I need to do going along the path. So mine is, I got to do this and then this and this. Elsewhere, I can find out what it means to do those things. So again, I'm going to go back to home now. So again, you go to the main website, go to Pathways, enter it. I strongly encourage you to, you know, to go through and do the, you know, assess your path and, you know, and pick a path, because then you can actually start to look around and do things. Until you do that, you really can't do much. So I know it's kind of a crash course there for you, Dave, but any questions before I move on to some other stuff?
What happens with the evaluation part?
Right, so good question. So let me go back to my education transcript, and what I'm going to do is, what I did was download, and again, I'm going to open it up just briefly, but for the icebreaker speech outline, once you've downloaded the things, you can go in and, is it still opening? Where's my, I thought I opened it. So here is, it's talking about the evaluation resources, which you have to do after you do your icebreaker. All right, and there's a description of what's required, and you know, you use it to evaluate a member in your club. However, for what you have to do, and I want to launch it. That's what I want to do. So if I launch it, so here's the evaluation form, and then you can, like, if you're familiar with any kind of downloads, you just go up. It's an Adobe, it's a PDF. You can go up here and just download it to have it. But it's also a writable, a writable PDF. So this is what, when a person evaluates you, this is the evaluation form that they're going to use. So it's just a simple one-pager up front. There's the, ratings, there, and then the criteria that explain, what that's about. And so that will, that's what they'll do for you. Now for you to do your evaluation, and I'm going to cheat because what I have done is, where is it? So what I have done is I've downloaded all these because I want to grab them quickly. And so just give me 1 second to get down here. So a lot of files, Toastmasters, Pathways, Leonard. So what I have done is I've downloaded these onto my hard drive because I want to be able to print them out, more easily. And so the evaluation resource is happens to be the next thing that, like, Greg's going to do after he gives the speech here. If it opens up here for me, man, it's taking forever on my computer. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's the evaluation form. Let me just keep that. Come on. Come on. Come on. Not what I wanted. Let me grab the other one. Research and presenting. So, and these are like, basically books, which is why when they talk about, as a new member, to this, you don't pay for your first path, but you pay for your future path. But it's because, you're getting these kinds of resources, if you will. So this is about that next project of researching and presenting. So again, I won't go through it tonight. I don't want to waste Greg's time either. But, you can download these. The key thing here that I have that I can send on to you is, that I've downloaded, is that's evaluation and feedback. So here's when you have to do for your level 1, you give a speech, they evaluate you, you give a speech, and then they evaluate you and you improve upon it. Then when you do an evaluation, you have to do that as a project. So this is part of the level 1, is telling you how to do an evaluation and provide feedback. So there's a whole book of how to do that. More importantly, there is under the evaluation, there is I really want to say a fantastic half video. It's not video, but it's a PowerPoint. Kind of like a PowerPoint live interactive thing here on how to do evaluations. And Elizabeth and I have done it. So you click on the far right one that says, speech evaluations, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about speech evaluations that are in here. So again, more great resources. But the key thing is up here. Maybe you might not see it, but in this thing talking about evaluations is this link here, and that is an online training session of how to evaluate. And I'll just take a moment to load it up just so you can know what it looks like when you're going around. But it's a interactive training thing of how to get evaluations, and it's the best thing I've ever seen on evaluations, partially because of the content and partially because it's interactive. And it will take you like 20 minutes to go through it. So it's not like, oh, just a quick read and do it. It's really trying to train you how to do evaluations. So even though you have that project that you can download, this is also an excellent resource. Sure. I'm probably just going to end up at where I stopped here. but again, you got to be prepared for, these downloads and such like that. So this is kind of, what it takes to work on a computer. And you can't hear, but she's talking. So she's talking, and, as you go along, you, you can pause it, or you can go on to the next thing. So see, like continue, then I can go on to the next, next part. So again, it's an interactive thing. And again, I don't want to take too much time tonight, but just so you know that that's there. What I did want to kind of hit on tonight, well, I guess before I do that, are you okay for now, David, on that? I know it's kind of a fire hose of information, but is that enough for you to work with for right now?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. So what I wanted to hit on was a mentoring program. And because Pathways has a more formal way of doing mentoring than the old program. And this is off of a website I found. You can find the same information on the Pathways site, but sometimes someone took the trouble to just kind of put it all on one page. And I can send out this link. But what it wants to note is that the mentoring program isn't a path, but it's one of those projects required on every path along the way. And I would liken it to the Competent Leader Manual, if you know that, where you're supposed to do like, in that case, you do a timer and you do the things. Pathways doesn't really recognize those as, as accomplishing an educational achievement, but instead, your leadership that you're kind of doing is in part doing a mentoring. So that's kind of how they replaced it with doing mentoring. And again, there's different levels of it. So level 2, you're always going to, help somebody else, with their speech. And as it says, very specific content, is going to be specified. And then, there's, prepare to mentor, again, more training stuff. And then there's the more formal mentoring, which we're more familiar with. When you ask people to be a mentor, that 3 to 3 months long, helping someone along. And then the advanced one, again, having even more training, what that's involved for a longer period of time. And if you go through all those, you get a certificate of proficiency. So it doesn't mean that you're going to complete a path. It doesn't help you like complete the path, if you will, but it's just kind of another, a chit along the way. And in fact, you can see there's a badge. So you can get badges for people who do a great job on something, but you can also earn kind of a badge as a certificate for proficiency. So they're really hitting this more formally, in as much as you got to do it for every path, but also if you really want to get more into the mentoring aspect, there's a way of doing that. And this is frankly something I think people like Greg and I really need to be doing. I mean, the reason we're still on Toastmasters, despite our gray hair, is we frankly like mentoring people and helping people. And so now there's a way for us to both get some more formal training and, to get if we're mentoring someone, that they can have some idea of, proficiency, if you will. So I think it's I haven't started it yet, mind you, but it's a good program. And then this is the Mentor Guide program. It's a guide. You can see it's a PDF. And this is a way to help guide you through the mentoring program. So again, it steps you through, completing a self-evaluation, which almost all of these projects have you do, having you work with, a mentee, a protege to complete a project, and you're helping them for what that project description is. So for an icebreaker, we're all going to have the same, but like anything else, if you're doing a humorous speech, it's a different thing. And then you give a speech about your mentoring experience. And again, that speech doesn't necessarily count towards your path. You're just doing it because you want to become, a proficient mentor, if you will. So that gets you through the first two, I don't want to say levels to confuse people, but, the first two steps, if you will. And then the advanced one is, taking it on for a more formal time with, for a 6-month period. And again, doing another speech for that. And then you submit it like you would any other advancement kind of a thing, through through Basecamp, and then the Basecamp manager, the VPE, would go through and approve that, and then you get your designation. So that's another nice little graphic, if you will, to show you about that. And then here's a level 2 project. So when you go to level 2, after you get done with your level 1, which again is your icebreaker, give a second speech, be evaluated on it, and give an improved version, if you will, of that speech, and then do a research speech and give someone else an evaluation, and then you got level 1. So it doesn't look like there's that many steps to each level, but when you get into the gory details, there are. And once you get that all done, then you move on to level 2, and that's when, okay, you're deemed to be qualified enough to start mentoring people. And then there's, again, another download that's available, through the Pathways thing of what it takes to do, mentoring. Mentoring 101, if you will. And again, another thing you can download. And where you can find those things is you can say, okay, where can I find them? You can try to go to, you can go to home, you can go to tutorial and resources, which actually has quite a good number of things in it. And that's where every time I open up one of those things, it drops it into my education transcript. And so, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, in different languages. And so that can all be, it's worthwhile to kind of go through it. But really, up here to the upper right, that search is a search not just of the page you're on, but of all of Pathways. So wherever something is in all of Pathways, whether it's under tutorials or under the home page or wherever, you can look for it up there. So if I put in mentoring, and then what pops up, I gotta go back and do it. Well, that's what I wanted to do. So, and let me just go back a second because I did it too quickly. So when you type something in up there, you can see that it will start to fill in just like Google does, right, of potential ones to pick. Don't pick any of those because that's just like the top hit parade, if you will. Just hit return, and that will then give you what you see in the middle of the screen, and that'll give you all of the things that have mentoring in them, and as you can see, this is about people talking about it. So right now it's the mentoring project description, which is what I just got through showing you on the other page. And so that's how you can find out something for mentoring. If I did just mentor, we can see if that gives us anything a little bit differently. All right, it doesn't, and if you wanted here we're focusing on the training aspect, and now you can see I got the mentoring project description, all these other languages. You can see I got a Pathways Mentor Program overview. I've got the advanced mentoring. So, and that's because I'm looking under mentor, right? So this is where you can find out more of the things. So when you click on one, it comes back to here, and then it's going to launch it, which basically obviously just means they're going to open it up, but they're launching it from the Toastmasters Pathways website, their portal thing. And again, it's opening them up as a as a separate window. And of course, the one thing you're probably realizing is I'm so confused. Scott's just bouncing all around on the screen. I have no idea what's going on, which is why you really got to kind of get in and play with it. It's like anything else. Once you get in and start playing around with it, it'll make a lot more sense. Okay, so here's my message. You got 10 minutes, or I got to pay the piper. So we'll try to wrap up here. So that's why I got to get in and play around, and that's why just to get into the base camp, pick your path, and then just to get started, then let you go around and play through. And once you do that, then it's a little easier for to ask, questions to help guide you. Because right now it's like, I know it's just a fire hose of information. As Greg will tell you, even if you stay away with it for a little bit, you still come back and go, I'm confused. So here you can see that this pathway overview, it's going to be a, another helping you step through, how the program works. And again, we don't have time to go through that, but I wanted to show you that's, the different things. So sometimes you're going to have a book that gets downloaded. Sometimes you're going to have an overview. It'll be an interactive thing. So it just depends on, you have the different resources available for you. But I think the mentoring, go ahead.
Oh, I did take the assessment a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you did? So you picked your path?
Yeah.
Oh, what path did you pick?
I can't remember right now.
Fair enough. I would encourage you to get in and, again, start to play around, and search for the different items because you can start to, because, for example, I would go in and at least get the icebreaker. That's not what this is, not what I wanted. The icebreaker, evaluation sheet, I would at least go in, because even though you're given, an icebreaker again, go under speech evaluations and launch and go through that evaluation, because that'll just be, it'll also help you be, be a better, do a better speech writing. And then, go ahead and get your, no, catalog didn't work. You want to get your pathway, you want to get your icebreaker going, if you will, there. So anyway, there's somewhere I have a catalog. I thought I must have saved over it or something. But I can send you out a catalog if you wanted to. So again, we got about 5 minutes left. These tend to be pretty short, particularly when I go on about a few things. Greg, anything that any questions you have in terms of what I've talked about with the mentoring, or any other questions that you have right now?
Not at this point, Scott. I haven't even touched the mentoring. I'm just trying to get through the icebreaker and the evaluation at this point. So.
Sure, no, I understand.
But I think that's something I'm interested in. It's nice that they've done that formality on mentoring.
Yeah, and I would say, like you say, let you and I are just trying to get our icebreaker done so we can start to get to the level. But one thing and maybe it's not quite fair, because if you're not going through the program, you're not as aware of it. But for some people that are still trying to finish up under the old program, and I'm thinking of like Becky Wilsey, whom both of you know, that I think it would probably benefit her to go in, and like the speech evaluation tutorial, I think, is great. And for her, the mentoring program, might be something that's still worthwhile, because some of those things might be, she might be able to use some of those things for, her path, on the regular program. So there could be some things for people to be doing there. One last thing, I guess, David, is this education transcript shows you everything that you've been looking at. If you look down in this little box, it also says education transcript. This is like what I need to do, like, right now, if you will, just for what I'm doing, not like all these other things I've been searching for. So there's two of them. This is kind of like the focused version. This is kind of like, again, your library of everything you've been looking for. So in about 5 minutes we have left, David, is there any other questions I can answer for you, or anything that you would want to hear about, like next week when we have another one of these?
I can't go to next week's because I'll be on vacation. I'll be at Disney World.
Well, that's something that'll be a lot better than this. Or even in a future time, I guess what I would say, I'm putting you on the spot, but you know, when you're done, you know, you say, as soon as you hang up, you go, oh, I wish I'd asked about this. Or tomorrow when you go back in and you say, well, I thought it made sense and now it doesn't. Don't hesitate to drop me an email. And if it's a quick and easy thing that I can answer, I'll just email you back. If it's a more extensive discussion, like, you know, about doing something, then we'll, you know, make that one of our topics at, you know, one of these sessions. And I'm just trying to make sure it's one that you can, you know, you know, attend or whatever. So I just want to open that up for you as well. Let's see, what time is it? It's okay. I think we got 3 minutes left. So not that we have to go the entire 40 minutes, but any last minute thoughts before we break up? I was going to do one again next week. I've been doing Thursdays at 7, except for when I was out, because there was no better time for anyone. Let me put it that way. Not that we've had a lot of people, but you won't be here. Greg, you'll be around next week? All right, I lost Greg on audio there, although I can see his picture. Could be my bandwidth here. But anyway, Greg, if you can still hear me, again, if you have anything you want to...
I can hear you.
Particularly, okay. All right. If there's anything you want, Greg, for me to cover, either for you or you want to send somebody else, you know, in the future, or to join you to cover something, you know, just let me know. Send me an email, and I'll try to, you know, I'll do what I can to try to accommodate that. It's a little tough. They want us to do like 15 of these, you know, and to do them any more than even doing them once a week is almost too much, because we're all trying to just get through, you know, the icebreaker on level 1, and you know, other than trying to help people get up to speed on that, you know, that's where our main focus is. But again, anything I can do to help people navigate and learn where things are and all that, I'm more than glad to repeat some things as the case might be. All right. Well, I want to say goodbye before it cuts me off. So thank you both for attending, and I'll send out some notes. I'll add you to those notes, David, that I send them out, and then I'll have next week. And if there's anyone else you want to have come, let me know, and I'll still put you on the list, you know, for future ones as well. And if you don't want to attend, that's, you know, it's obviously fine also. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.